really
I
depressing
see.
state of affairs.
Yeah.
Talking of which, there's another big American executive, well, not executive order, Supreme Court decision about
Chaos.
TikTok.
Yes.
And whether they should simply ban TikTok in the United States.
Yes.
And it looks like it is edging towards, based on the Supreme Court discussion, edging towards banning an app. But at the same time, I've got to throw in, turns out that the TikTok's CEO is going to be sat very close to Trump during his inauguration. So people are like, what's he going to do?
Yes.
So you have an
can I just
interesting...
briefly comment? Like, where did we get where Americans are banning companies? I mean,
So,
Americans love companies.
I've been following the TikTok ban very, very closely. I've been, I would say, obsessed with what is happening, as I think a lot of people in the UK have, because a lot of, I'm a big TikTok user and a content creator, and a lot of the people I follow are American. So I'm feeling like, they're all going to go, all my favourite people that I like watching. And I think that this is the funniest story ever, because the America is trying to ban, it's against freedom of speech. They're trying to ban an app because it's too Chinese and the Chinese will do spying and they're going to steal all your data. And so all the American TikTok users have responded by going, okay, bye, forget TikTok, we're joining Zhao Hongshu, which is, it means Little Red Book, or Red Note is what people are calling it. I've downloaded it, I've got it on my phone, just to kind of see what's been going on, and it is just incredible what's happening, because all these Americans and all these Chinese people who use it, so they're having this beautiful kind of cultural exchange, and they're, really here's a picture of my baby, here's my baby, well look, I've got a dog just like you, do you have supermarkets in China? Yes, do you in America?
What
and
is the vibe? Is it a friendly social media?
It seems very friendly.
It's like the old internet. It's the one I want back.
A lot of people, they're saying it's like in the 90s or the early 2000s where the internet started, and it was like, hi guys, we're over here in our country, and people are saying this is so funny because the government is like, watch out for those Chinese people, we can't, their Chinese app, and all the people on Zhao Hongshu are saying, that TikTok's banned in China, guys, we don't even use it.
Why is this one
it's
not?
too
why
American.
is this one not banned? Shouldn't we just go around banning everything we don't like that?
Well, exactly, because then it's like, okay, US government, if you ban TikTok, are you then going to spend the next however many years trying to ban this app, by which time there'll be another one? But apparently it's a very positive, lovely place, and people are really learning a lot about Chinese culture, and Chinese people are learning a lot about American culture, and lots of Americans are kind of saying, I really feel like I'm learning a lot about the propaganda, dare I say, or the messages, the negative messages we receive about China.
Just in terms of the language, I mean, I'm assuming most of this is in
Mandarin.
simplified Chinese Mandarin.
As a person that joined this app, I signed terms and conditions that were written in Mandarin with a Mandarin accept button. I didn't understand any of it. So of all these people, they've just been like, sign me up.
When it's in English, it's unintelligible as well, right?
Does anyone read terms and conditions when they're in a language you actually
They're in legalese,
can
as far
read?
as I can
Well, I mean, sort of gifs of lovely puppies are the same in any language, I suppose.
Yeah.
Right,
Yes. And people are saying, I feel like I'm going to get, a knock on the door in a few weeks, and it's going to be, the makers of Squid Game 3 are here because I signed the terms and conditions for Red Note without reading them. But, what's also hilarious is it's a guy who's Chinese, and he's living in, I think, Vancouver. Just did a video. Lots of Chinese people on TikTok are becoming really popular because they're just being like, welcome to Red Note, everyone. It's really nice to have Americans here and just be respectful of our culture because things are a bit different. And for some reason, somebody American shared his video and was like, the CEO of Red Note has welcomed us to Red Note, and he was like, I'm not the CEO, I'm just a random guy. I don't even live in China. And now it's it was shared on Fox News, this clip of him with CEO of Red Note welcomes Americans.
I don't,
and
honestly,
he's just a Chinese
I feel like
man.
the world is spiraling out of control.
It is.
And it was
I love those stories though, when one completely anonymous person is thrust into random
the spotlight,
fame. And I feel for them. That's part of the reason I watch such things. But they're thrust into fame and then misattributed. executed, right? Like CEO.
Literally,
And then
yeah.
for years, all these people think you're the CEO, and you have to deal with it. It just becomes like this comedic thing that annoys you every 2 days.
So there's this whole trend at the moment of it's called TikTok refugees. So these are the people who are the Americans who are like, okay, bye TikTok, we're joining Red Note, and it's like hashtag TikTok refugees, and they're saying, well, you can be the CEO of the TikTok refugees, but they just there was this post that was like, you know, you a Chinese person, welcome to Red Note America, the CEO, guys, like he's here, just anyone will do. So
all right, so we've got people that respond to the TikTok ban by downloading
a more Chinese app.
A more
and
Chinese app. I mean,
wonderful-
I kind of love the internet roots around censorship.
Right. Exactly.
People now roots around censorship.
Like,
and apparently American
spite
censorship
is
too, right?
the biggest motivation for this is like, I didn't even want to join, but it's a nice screw you to the government for trying
So
to...
in terms of...
Does that mean there's a lot of like Trump fans on it as well? Because they're usually not so keen on government regulation, right?
I mean, so the sort of stuff I consume is very tailored to me, and I don't sort of have those political allegiances, so I don't really know, but I would imagine, I mean, TikTok's a hugely
that's the question. X is going right-wing MAGA. Blue Sky is getting increasingly left-wing. So we've got Silas, and now we've got... and then we'll find out where this one lies. Communist. We'll all become communist.
But I think what's really... the last thing I want to say about this, what's really interesting is that I feel there's been this sense of these traditional social media platforms have been kind of like, haha, once we ban TikTok, you'll have to come back to X. And
dream on.
And it's like, no, we're going to join an app that's in Mandarin, like it hasn't even been translated to English, before we go back to X. That is the message that they want to send. And I think that's a wonderful thing.
Talk about banning things. I think it's time we go to our Room 101. Aaron, did you have a Room 101?
Oh, wow. Dangerous. I was going to 101. But I think I'm going to go out on a limb and be really honest here and say JavaScript.
Just
JavaScript.
All of it.
Yeah. I just the typing in the language is so crazy, and I know not everyone who watches this is a programmer.
I've tried learning Python, which I quite liked.
Yeah.
And I've tried learning JavaScript, and I hated it because there's too many semicolons. That's just how I feel.
And I mean, this is a bit academic side again, but I remember watching a talk from someone who helped design Java and JavaScript, and they were describing that they were trying to design the security of the programming language, and there was a faction of the language designers who were fighting against them to make sure they never got control of the security. And I certainly have found that. Like, 90% of the stuff I find on the internet is malware written in JavaScript badly. So I would rather not have to deal with the implications of the existence of JavaScript.
Because I read somewhere that JavaScript is deliberately designed to be really faffy and have all the semicolons and brackets, so that almost like you have to know what you're doing with it, and it means you have to make sure it's written like really clearly and you've put all your semicolons in the right place, and that it doesn't run if you don't. It's meant to break in the sense that you will now know that something's broken. Yeah. But of course that just happens thousands of times a day and makes you angry.
This is giving me flashbacks to when I was studying at university. The lecturers tried to teach us a code called Fortran, which they had learned.
Is that what 4chan, the thing, is that what it's based on?
Oh, I don't
know. Wow.
Because I love that.
I don't believe so.
I've not made that connection.
But I'm hoping
I'm going to say yes.
Maybe
we're going to say yes.
The thing I remember distinctly about 4chan, which drove me crazy, and I think this is accurate if I remember correctly, was you had to put 7 spaces in front of every new line for some reason lost in in time.
Yeah, tabulating all your code, so it's like
it had to fit in neatly, and so every before you could type anything, you'd have to tap the space bar 7 times.
And if you do 8 times, just the whole thing.
We said, can you please teach us C+? Not Fortran. No, we need to learn Fortran because these guys were living.
I mean, back in Edinburgh, this is 2005, 2010, we had to take exams in programming. And of course, those exams were on paper. So I had to write Java objects on paper
That's great.
for an exam. And I hate to break it to you, I am a programmer. I'm not a great one, pretty clumsy. but
Would
I'm
you
not a
ever do this
compiler,
in
right? Like you
real
would,
life?
like I know even people who had to do punch cards and stuff, they didn't really have to
Yeah.
get their entire objects
That's
right,
wild.
you know. But like to write an object out in paper and then have someone grade you on it. I don't know if they just like scanned it and put it into the compiler. Compiler said no, and they said fail.
That would
but
be that would be honestly my nightmare would
Yeah.
be going home with a pile of written out JavaScript papers
Having
to
to
mark.
check all the
Right.
semicolons.
But hang on, before we chuck it in Room 101, what if we got rid of JavaScript? Wouldn't lots of things just stop working straight away?
Well, I guess it depends on how we got rid of it. Like if we can go back in time and make sure it never exists, then something else will replace it.
Right.
Am I allowed to do that in Room
that-
101?
is that
I don't know. Is time
rules?
travel?
I don't know.
Yeah, because if you did just like suddenly make it non-exist and all the JavaScript we've already written is still there, I might have to
Everything
recant.
would break.
I might have to back
Yeah.
down on that one.
What can we? What can you
So if-
switch
if
over? If
we
you want to
did go back in
rewrite
time,
JavaScript what-
yeah.
in a different language, what would
Oh,
you go
good
for?
point. I mean, we do have PyScript now, Python. You know, it's a little bit
Python,
easier to
yeah.
read. One of the things about JavaScript that drives me crazy. Do you know much about code obfuscation? Like
Not at
people,
all. I've
people will
never heard of
deliberately
it.
they'll deliberately make their code unreadable because they're a company doing advertising and they don't want you to read how it works, or they're malicious gangs trying to hide their malicious code
Their evil
in
doings.
obfuscated JavaScript, right? So there are legitimate reasons to obfuscate and there are illegitimate reasons to
JavaScript is the place to go if you want to hide your.
But the
work in.
thing that makes me crazy is that the obfuscated JavaScript and the regular JavaScript are almost indistinguishable anyway. So, like,
Hilarious.
what's the
Yeah.
difference?
And
right?
that it's such a faff to
Yeah.
look at some JavaScript. So it's a good deterrent, I guess.
Right?
You
Yeah.
know?
All right, we're gonna have it. We'll take
Right.
it.
Thank
JavaScript's
you.
in the bin.
Yes.
Nice.
Every website.
Yes. Yeah.
It's gonna
Every
go
piece of
wrong.
software.
That's for
will-
you, Memo.
Don't try and
maybe that's a-
book on
maybe that's a
Airbnb
good
for
thing.
next week
Yeah.
till they rewrite it
Exactly.
in Python.
Tough luck. Yeah.
Okay, good. And then the sort of last thing is that we've got coming up Blue Monday, which
wow.
is this, and it is apparently the most depressing day of the year. It certainly is in the UK. I'm not sure about Australia. It's probably
Yeah.
quite nice in Australia right
Yeah,
now.
probably. Bit of sunshine.
So you think it's a temperature related?
I think
Is
it
it?
is. We are heading into the
It's not just the
third
color
week
of the British sky.
Yeah,
Right,
There's
yeah.
something about. I think it's a very UK thing. There's something about the
I
third
read
week of January.
that there's this whole thing now of like, we're mammals, right? We're not robots. We're actually meant to be not hibernating, but having a very chilled winter. And we decide like, January, Christmas is over, New Year's resolution time. What are you going to do to better yourself as a human? And it's like, I feel like by the time you get to this far into January, it's like your gym membership, you're like, why did I spend all that money? Your new, I don't know, diet is failing and you just feel like a failure. But I'm like, that's probably because we think that January is the time to be, you know,
Yeah.
the
You're like
best
legally
version of
allowed to
yourself.
be depressed and you're supposed to better yourself.
Yeah,
That's what
exactly.
January is
I've
all
just realised
Yeah.
that the jogging, the spike in jogging in January tailing off
Yeah.
heavily in February
What
is
if
both
we
a
did,
Room
like,
101
you
and a
know-
guilty pleasure.
Once
for me.
you've made it to February 14th, you've lost all the weight for Valentine's Day, and now you can put it back on. It's like,
There you
it's
go.
fine.
I find February very bleak. What if we did like new summer's resolutions? What if it was like in
Oh,
June? It's
I
like,
like
what's
it.
your New Year's resolution now? Would
Yeah.
all be, it's warmer, you're feeling happier. Maybe New Year's resolutions would be like amazing.
Totally
But I think
different.
it's because we choose to do them in January.
All
And
right.
it's the miserablest time.
Well, it's coming up. We're going to push through, and just totally coincidentally, Blue Monday will also be the inauguration of President Trump. in
Oh,
Washington,
really?
D.C.
Wow, that's tough. That's
Yeah.
tough. Yeah. Okay.
Or fitting,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
Whichever way you want to look at it.
Yeah.
And I think we'll wrap up there. So we talked about the new ransomware UK plan, which might work.
Might work. Yeah.
We've got Biden's new cybersecurity executive order, which might work for 2 days before it's repealed,
It's banned.
rescinded. TikTok, the reaction to TikTok with people going more communist, which you gotta love the internet for that.
Yeah.
And Monday coming up is going to be the most depressing day of the year, apparently.
Yes.
So there you go. That is
Yeah.
the internet seriously for this week. Thank you very much, Aaron and Alice. And I hope you have a better Monday than we will.